Hello again, traders, and welcome back to the Hot Stocks Outlook for February 21st, 2025. Hope you all have had a nice week out there in the financial markets. And as always, we're going to take a look at the most recent VantagePoint AI predictive forecast. So if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and click on that link down in the description below and get signed up for a live demonstration so you can learn all the specifics about how these predictive indicators and technologies are helping traders make better trading decisions out in the marketplace. Now, as we typically start out, we can take a look at the SPY ETF just to get a sense of where the broader equity indices are. And so year to date, we're still up about 4.4%, not really much changing from last week. And again, over the past 30 days, just creeping up about 1.2%. So there's been a lot of great opportunities out there, but also really mixed nature to the market. And you want to be involved in the right opportunities. So we can really forecast or highlight how all of these predictive indicators work together on this chart for Yum Brands and really highlight how all of these predictive tools complement each other. So what we have here is daily price action, right? So each one of these candles that you see on the screen, well, that's going to represent a full and complete trading day. And it's right up against all that daily price action that the first thing that should jump out is that there is a black line and also a blue line right up against all that price data. Now, the black line that you're seeing there is actually a simple moving average. This is a very common technical analysis indicator. In this case, it's a 10-period simple moving average. So it just looks back at the previous 10 closes, adds them all together, and then divides by that number. And so VantagePoint traders use that as a baseline, right? To let us know where market prices have already been. And what we're able to do is compare that lagging moving average or that actual moving average to this proprietary predicted moving average. And for this number, which we can think of as future prices plotted on the chart moving forward, well, to get that number, this is where the technology of artificial neural networks come into play. And they're performing what we would call intermarket analysis. And so what we understand is that there are markets that are known to drive and influence the future price of specifically Yum Brands. And so this can be things like ETF groups, it can be other individual stocks, as well as things like the dollar index or interest rates or global commodity markets. Like last week when we looked at the gold mining stocks, well, gold's having a really strong push and that affects the forecasts that we're seeing out of the gold miner stocks within VantagePoint. So it takes all of this information and then uses it to generate these predictive indicators. So whenever that blue line is crossing above the black line, it's suggesting average prices are going to start moving higher. Traders may want to look to take a long position in accordance with their strategies here. And so we have about a 19% rally just over the past 21 trading days. But that's not the entirety of how all these predictive tools work. If you look at the very bottom of the chart here, you see you have this bar that can go from green to red and back to green. And this is the VantagePoint Predicted Neural Index. And it's utilizing that technology of artificial neural networks, looking at those market relationships. But this is tuned to solve a different problem, and that being short-term strength over the next 48 hours, or you can think of it as a couple of candles on the chart. And so whenever we see that indicator go bearish, we sometimes get a couple of days of sideways price action. But again, as long as that blue line remains above the black line, the overall trend is to the bullish side. And so lastly here, we take a look at these predicted high and predicted low ranges. If you look at the very right-hand side of the chart, you'll see this shadow box here. And that is a prediction for the next day's highs and low before the trading day occurs. And as we look at these forecasts from week to week, we go back and say, okay, well, we can look and see how accurate are all of these predictions against the actual market data. And so you can see how accurate all these days are. Once that bullish forecast comes through, market constantly moves down towards these predicted lows. You see about 4 entries around earnings. And then even after the noise and volatility around earnings, you see how good the software is at adapting and getting things back on track and saying, okay, well, we had a big move here. How are we expecting the market trade tomorrow and the next day and the next? And again, even over this past week, we've got about 4 entries as the market grinds higher after this 20% rally here in shares of Yum Brand. So really nice opportunity there within VantagePoint. And again, just a lot of opportunities moving to the bullish side, but not necessarily a market that's going straight up here. Here's him and hers health. This has been on a huge rally. We actually look back at the forecast. We have this blue line crossing above the black line, really at the midpoint in January. And ever since, we've had a really strong forecast as far as the direction of that trend, with these periods where the neural index may go bearish. But again, that blue line very much above the black line, and predominantly the green, bullish configuration coming through here as far as the overall forecast. We can look back at those predicted highs and lows. And you see how effective this is. Once you identify that the overall trend is up, these levels down at these predicted lows offer good intraday price levels to accept potentially a limit order and also potentially some bullish price targets of the predicted high for the next trading day. And so you see how we get numerous entries here as this market trends higher, but this thing has just been on a extremely strong rally here. So just over the past few weeks here, shares up about 147% just in the past 26 trading days in shares of him and hers health. So really nice opportunity there. Here's Quest Diagnostics. So again, a really good example of how all of these predictive tools work together. We see that blue line crossing above the black line. Neural index bullish. We have this noise around earnings. And so you'll see these periods where the neural index gets bearish. You sometimes get a couple of trading days where you move below that predicted moving average. But again, the overall trend here very much to the bullish side. So we look back at all of these trading days, we're up about 12% over the past 19 trading days. And again, those predicted highs and lows are really the standout here of saying, okay, well, trading this day to day, where do you want to be looking? Well, down towards these predicted low levels. You can, again, use those predicted highs as a profit target for getting involved in the market or taking some short-term profits involved in the overall uptrend. So really nice move there in Quest Diagnostics. Here's shares of ABBVI. And again, similar example here, that predicted moving average crossing above the actual moving average. That neural index can, intermittently flip from bullish to bearish. You again see here, we get a couple days of sideways price action. But as long as that predicted moving average remains above the actual moving average, we would expect the trend to remain bullish. So again, earnings right here in the middle of the chart, about a 15% rally. But again, let's look at those predicted highs and lows even after this earnings report, right? So there's going to be a lot of volatility, a lot of noise. The software doesn't know that earnings are necessarily tomorrow, and that's going to lead to a big movement in price. And so once you're prepared for that, we can say, okay, well, we've gotten through the earnings. Now, where are we looking for this market to trade on a day-to-day basis without having that kind of noisy information catalyst sort of right parked in the middle of your trading? It's a really nice opportunity there in shares of AbbVie. Here's Chipotle Mexican Grill. And just wanted to mix it up because, again, we've had, some markets doing extremely well, and that's created some really strong forecasts and nice opportunities for trading. But the equity markets aren't going straight up. There are some big stocks that are performing poorly. Here's Chipotle Mexican Grill. So you actually see around earnings getting that blue line crossing below the black line. And for the past 2 weeks here, in a market that's been fairly strong with, things like him and hers and Yum Brands, these things trending much higher. Here we see Chipotle in a downtrend. You see that blue line below the black line. Neural index getting bullish a couple of times in here and getting some bounces over that 48 hours of price action. But overall, a very bearish forecast. And all you'd really want to do is look to short up at these predicted highs, potentially take profit if you're still long, and that leading to a pretty strong decline here just over the past couple of weeks. So again, not too long-term of a move here, just been a couple of weeks, but clearly a market that's off about 8-9% in the past 10 trading days, where there's a lot of other markets that are performing quite well, strongly in uptrend, and seeing those really nice percentage returns. So we'll go ahead and leave it there for today. Once again, this has been our Hot Stocks Outlook for February 21st, 2025. Thank you all for watching. Best of luck out there, and bye for now.